What if I told you Hitler won World War II and went on to rule the entire world? Imagine a global empire where every nation follows the Nazi regime. Sounds impossible, right? By the end of this video, we'll explore how that could have happened and what life today might look like. But there's a catch. Stay tuned to find out. To understand what a world under Hitler would look like, we need to dive into his ambitions. Hitler didn't just want to conquer Europe. He envisioned a world ruled by a master race, with his Third Reich stretching from Berlin to Tokyo. The concept was called Lebensraum, living space for Germans, expense of millions menens. But what if he had actually pulled this off? Would we all be living under a dictatorship today? Hitler even had plans to invade the US. If the Nazis had won, it's very likely that by now, American cities would look vastly different. Imagine swastikas flying over New York City or Washington, D.C. being renamed after a Nazi leader. Operation Sea Lion was one of the first stepping stones to this alternate reality. Had Hitler taken Britain, it's likely the US would have been next on his list. But here's the twist. His plans for world domination hinged on this one crucial failure. Now, picture your daily life under a Nazi regime. Forget democracy. Your freedom of speech, press, and even thought would be strictly controlled. Social media wouldn't exist unless it was for state propaganda. Did you know the Nazis had a program called the Hitler Youth? Imagine that being the norm for every child in America. The government would raise kids to be loyal to the Führer, not their families. Scary thought, right? That's not even the worst part, Torque. In Hitler's world, millions would be persecuted, from minorities to anyone who dared to resist. A dystopia where your entire existence would be judged by your ethnicity and loyalty to the regime. But here's where things get interesting. The Nazis were obsessed with technology. If they had ruled the world, we might see crazy advancements today. Everything from jet planes to space colonies. The Nazis were already working on some of this tech during the war. The V-2 rocket, for instance, was a game changer. It even helped shape NASA's early space program. So, would we have made it to the moon earlier, or maybe even Mars? In fact, after the war, the US secretly brought Nazi scientists to America in a project called Operation Paperclip. The space race might have been a race between Nazi ideologies in space. So how would this alternate history connect to the modern US? The truth is, even if the Nazis had succeeded, their grip on the world would have crumbled. Why? Because dictatorships can't last forever. People fight back. Just look at history. The American spirit of rebellion and freedom would have sparked resistance movements, even in a Nazi-ruled world. Would we see underground resistance, like a modern-day Red Dawn, with Americans fighting to reclaim their country? Empires rise and fall, and no matter how much power Hitler might have gained, the will of the people has always been stronger. Just think about how other regimes collapsed in history. The same would likely happen here. Eventually, freedom would win. So, while Hitler ruling the world may sound like a terrifying reality, the loophole is that such control can't last. Human nature, our desire for freedom and equality, always find a way to break free. But this raises an even bigger question. What if another dictator had won? What if, instead of Hitler, it was Stalin who dominated the world stage? Could things have been even worse? Stay tuned for our next deep dive into another alternate history that'll leave you questioning everything. Like and subscribe if you love exploring the what-ifs of history, and drop a comment below. What do you think the world would look like if Hitler had ruled? I want to hear your thoughts. Next, what if Stalin ruled the world?